remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough.
Welcome to RadioBravery Live.
I just knew too much.
This is a very special report called Flynn Falsehoods. This is the truth about Michael Flynn. Does that make me crazy? Does that make you crazy for questioning the narrative of the mainstream media? I just knew too much. This is RadioBravery Live, special report, Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. Let's go and jump into it because I've got dozens of articles to cover here just to reiterate the goldfish memory of the American people to remind you what has really been going on in the last 6 months. Let's go and jump into this first article, the most recent article in the Russiagate Michael Flynn allegations. This is from Sally Yates, just publicly confirmed important facts about the Trump-Russia story. This is the testimony by Sally Yates, ex-Attorney General, going to give her testimony on Michael Flynn and his supposed connections to Russia. So everyone's been waiting for this testimony for months and months and months, and she finally gave her testimony. In the testimony, it says basically classified. Yates testified that she talks with McGran 3 times about Flynn, reiterating that every time this lie was repeated, the misrepresentations were getting more and more specific. And every time that happened, it increased the chances that Flynn could be compromised. So once again, she gives zero evidence of what was said or what was heard or how the connection is from Russia to Michael Flynn. No evidence at all, still once again. So this is the most breaking evidence of her saying that, yes, it was not professional, or it wasn't exactly how it should have been. The underlying content, or the underlying conduct she described, was problematic. So Michael Flynn's underlying conduct was problematic, but that doesn't mean he broke the law. So once again, this is the most breaking news on how Michael Flynn was connected. Oh, Sally Yates, it's classified. I can't tell you how, but all I can say is the underlying conduct was problematic. Okay, well, Sally Yates, you know, that's, thanks for letting us know. We're really glad that you're there to give that testimony, but let's give a little real background, because a lot of people want to just address Michael Flynn as a failure because he's been fired twice. Well, even though he's resigned once, was fired the first time. A lot of people don't really know about the disagreements that Barack Obama and Michael Flynn were having while he was a general, and why the main reason why Barack Obama let him go or fired him. A lot of it had to do with Michael Flynn disagreed with going into Syria. If you don't remember, back during that time when we were having debates in Congress and the Senate of whether we should go into Syria, there were hundreds of active duty military people from the U.S. posting on their Facebooks, posting on their Instagrams, posting on their Twitters, pictures of a sign in front of their face saying, "I will not be Al-Qaeda's Air Force." And that was what Michael Flynn said. That is what Senator Rand Paul said. And that's not what Barack Obama said. So you can see the underlying butting of heads between Barack Obama and Michael Flynn during this time when he was let go. So let's just go over Michael Flynn's Wikipedia right here for people who don't know the extensive, very, very decorated, colorful background of Michael Flynn and how much experience he has. A lot of people don't know that Michael Flynn was the intelligence person for numerous presidential candidates, not just Donald Trump, because of his intelligence background and how much information he knew. Michael Flynn, born December 1958, is a retired United States Army Lieutenant General. He's the 18th director of the Defense Intelligence Agency and the first National Security Advisor appointed by Donald Trump. Flynn served as the 25th National Security Advisor. Let's see. His military career was primarily operational with numerous combat arms, conventional and special operations senior intelligence assignments. He co-authored a report in January 2010 through the Center for New American Security entitled Fixing Intel, a Blueprint for Making Intelligence Relevant in Afghanistan. In addition, Flynn served as commander for the Joint Functional Component Command for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance, chair of the Military Intelligence Board, and assistant director for National Intelligence, and senior intelligence officer for Joint Operations Command. In 2014, he retired with 33 years of service in the Army, a year before he was scheduled to leave that position. Michael Flynn is a graduate of Military Intelligence Officer Basic Course, Military Intelligence Officer Advanced Course, Army Command and General Staff College, School of Advanced Military Studies, and Naval War College. Michael Flynn was commissioned in the U.S. Army as a second lieutenant in military intelligence in 1981. His military assignments included multiple tours at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, with the 82nd Airborne Division, Airborne Corps Joint Special Operations Command, where he deployed the invasion of Grenada, Operation Uphold Democracy in Haiti. He also served with the 25th Infantry Division at Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, at the Joint Readiness Training Center at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and at the Army Intelligence Center at Fort Sumter, Arizona. Flynn served as the Assistant Chief of Staff, G2 Airborne Corps at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, in June 2001, and the Director of Intelligence at the Joint Task Force 180 in Afghanistan until July 2002. He commanded the 111th Military Intelligence Brigade from 2002 to June 2004 and was the Director of Intelligence for Joint Special Operations Command from 2004 to 2007. I can continue to go on. There's plenty more sections here. Defense Intelligence Agency, retirement from the military, post-retirement, consulting firm, attendance at RT Gala dinner, and all the way to the U.S. presidential election 2016. So you can see that this guy has innumerable background. I mean, this is immeasurable, the amount of background that this guy has. He is a very, very, very intelligent individual. So whatever you want to say about him and how he's got fired, this guy knows what he's doing, okay? So just because he got fired, you know, that honestly, if you look at this background, this guy does, you know, it has nothing to do with his competency. It has to do with how he was butting heads with his boss, okay? So that's something that's very important to understand when we go into this Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. Let's look at this one right here from NPR.org. NPR, I'm a huge critic of taxpayer money going to NPR, which they can't get anymore thanks to Donald Trump. Now they have to make their own money. But yeah, this is NPR.org. Intelligence official. Transcripts of Flynn's calls don't show criminal wrongdoing. Really? This is from February 15th, 2017, written by Camilla Domanotsky from NPR.org. Intelligence official. Transcripts of Flynn's calls do not show criminal wrongdoing. Goes on to say, current U.S. intelligence official tells NPR's Mary Louise Kelly that there is no evidence of criminal wrongdoing in the transcripts of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's conversations with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. So let's start right here. Let's stop right here. I'm going to hold this article from NPR because this is very, very important, okay? This is NPR saying, what was it? Oh, transcripts of Flynn's calls don't show criminal wrongdoing. Now let's look at this one right here from the BBC. BBC.com. Trump wiretapping claim. Did Obama bug his successor? And this article goes on to try to debunk the fact that Trump says that Trump Tower was wiretapped. Well, isn't that very, very interesting? Here's another one. The timeline of Michael Flynn's phone call with Russia. Who knew what and when? And this is from the New York Times. So the New York Times has a little timeline here. And let's see. December 25th, Mr. Flynn sends a text extending holiday greetings to Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador. Really? So back on December 25th, they have a record on the New York Times of a text message, not a phone call, a text message from Michael Flynn to the Russian ambassador. Interesting. So they weren't recording they weren't wiretapping, they weren't recording Michael Flynn, but they have his text message. That's very interesting. Let's look at this. Around the same time, around December 29th, Michael Flynn discusses sanctions with Mr. Kislyak on a phone call, according to officials who have seen a transcript of the wiretapped conversation. That is a quote from the New York Times. Mr. Flynn discusses, quote, sanctions with Mr. Kislyak in a phone call, according to officials who have seen a transcript of the wiretapped conversation. Yes, so once again, this is the New York Times. Go ahead and look it up for yourself. The article is The Timeline of Michael Flynn's Phone Call with Russia. Who knew what and when? So this is the New York Times admitting there is a transcript. There is text messages also recorded of Michael Flynn between the Russian ambassador. Now let's go back to this NPR article. Intelligence official. Transcripts of Flynn's calls don't show criminal wrongdoing. That's NPR.org. Please go and find these articles for yourself. Let's look at this one. This is from the Washington Compost. Why Flynn was undone by a phone call. This post has been updated numerous times, it looks like. During a normal transition at the beginning of the normal presidency, nobody would be surprised if the newly appointed national security advisor got on the phone to speak to a foreign ambassador, even the Russian ambassador or the Chinese ambassador. During a normal transition at the beginning of a normal presidency, the idea that official sources would share a gist of a transcript of such a call with journalists from the Post would be considered outrageous. But this is not a normal presidency, says the Washington Compost. And Donald Trump's team did not run a normal transition. Oh, yeah. Nor do normal national security advisors start their tenure as reported objects of investigations. Oh, okay. So here's the Washington Compost spinning all the headlines I just showed you from the exact same time. BBC, New York Times, NPR. Now here's the Washington Compost, a big pile of shit news organization that just thinks that you are so fucking stupid that they can take all these headlines. This is February 14th. This is NPR, February 15th. This is New York Times. When's the New York Times one? February 14th. These are all the exact same day, while New York Times admits exactly what's going on, NPR admits exactly what's going on, but then they think you're so fucking stupid that the Washington Compost pile of shit is here telling you, oh, it's not normal. It's not normal. Oh, this is not bad. They didn't run a normal transition. They didn't have a normal security advisor. Oh, there's a investigation into Flynn. So, well, yeah, we all know there's a fucking investigation. You stupid idiots at the Washington Compost. You don't need to tell us the obvious, the stupid, most blatant, obvious thing that there's an investigation? Really? Because NPR just told us yesterday that there is an investigation and that it showed nothing and that you found nothing. So, once again, it's just so frustrating to have to continue to go over and over and over and over all of these same articles over and over again. You know, so let's keep moving forward, because this is Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. And not because I'm best friends with Michael Flynn, because I love Michael Flynn, because I'm a sycophant for Michael Flynn or anything like that, because I want the truth. Because Radio Bravery Live, we support the truth, and that is it. This is Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. So let's go to this article right here from the New York Times again. Trump abruptly ends CBS interview after wiretap question. This is May 1st, 2017, and it just shows the level of disrespect from the mainstream media and the back and forth lying. I just gave you the example of the New York Times, how they admit that these calls were being recorded. NPR shows you intelligence officials show there was no wrongdoing in all the recordings that everyone's been fucking looking at and claims that don't even exist. Now we see New York Times, Trump abruptly ends CBS interview after wiretap question, because it is so ridiculous how rude and how stupid and pathetic they think you are that they continue to want to clown on Donald Trump, as in, oh, you're proving now the wiretap? Yeah, we all know that there was wiretapping. And New York Times, this is why you're losing thousands of viewers a day, because no one trusts you, because you back and forth, you admit the wiretaps happened, then you try to make fun of Donald Trump publicly for claiming wiretaps, you know, and it's pathetic. So no one's reading you, and the only reason that we read you is so people can see your back and forth lying. So let's look at this one right here. Here is a interesting one. It's got some good truths in it, and it's got some manipulations, I think, also. But I wanted to cover it because I want to cover everything. This is from Cosmopolitan.com. You know, Cosmo. Why? In my opinion, I'm not really sure why Cosmopolitan is fucking involved in politics all of a sudden. Why don't you just keep telling people how to do their hair, and telling people how to please their girlfriend and boyfriend, and telling people how to paint their nails better, because you don't know shit about Michael Flynn, Cosmopolitan, and you're not real reporters, and no one considers you real news, so I don't know why you're even writing this article, but let's go into it. Who is Michael Flynn? 16 things to know about Donald Trump's former national security advisor, because he doesn't even work for Donald Trump anymore. He isn't even in the White House. He doesn't even have any say over anything. But we still have attack articles all the time coming out against him. Why? 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 Because they have to discredit his character. Because they have to discredit that he was a good person and had good things going on and was trying to do something good. He had good intentions. So they have to kill your intent. They have to kill the fact that you have good intent as a human being and discredit you as a good human being publicly, so that when they kill you or kill your character, it's okay with everyone else. It's okay because we've already proved he doesn't deserve it. He's not even a human being, you know. And that's how they do it. That's how they assassinate your character. But these are some interesting things, and they're very honest in some of these things. He is a registered Democrat, number one. A lot of people didn't know that, you know. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, conservative, anti-Muslim Michael Flynn, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? He's not a conservative. He's not anti-Muslim. He's a Democrat, as a matter of fact. He says, quote, I grew up as a Democrat in a very strong Democratic family. That's very interesting, isn't it? Number two, he had an impressive military career. They admit, even Cosmopolitan has to admit, he has had a very, very impressive military career. Let's just look at the little paragraph they say about it. Flynn joined the Army in 1981. He served in Afghanistan and Iraq as the Director of Intelligence for Joint Special Operations Command, which includes units like SEAL Team 6. He was then the Director of Intelligence for United States Central Command and the Director of Intelligence for International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan, helping to dismantle Al-Qaeda networks. And that's really impressive. President Barack Obama nominated him to be the Director of Defense Intelligence Agency, the CIA of the Pentagon, in 2012 for a reason, because of his very impressive background. He was ousted from his role as Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2014. He wrote in the New York Post that he had been trying to change the culture of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Wow, that is just... So, he was trying to, quote, change the culture of the Defense Intelligence Agency when he was fired. That sounds awful. What a horrible piece of garbage. Trying to change the culture of lying, manipulative, secretive agencies. Weird. Quote, after being fired, I left the meeting thinking, here we are in the middle of a war. I had a significant amount of combat experience, nearly 5 years, against this determined enemy on the battlefield, and served at senior levels, and here it was. The bureaucracy was letting me go. Amazing. That's a quote from Michael Flynn. Meanwhile, meanwhile, leaked emails from former Secretary of State Colin Powell had asked why the right-wing nutty Flynn was fired. So, Colin Powell has been quoted by calling Michael Flynn right-wing nutty while he's a Democrat. And Powell said Flynn was abusive with staff, didn't listen, worked against policy, and bad management. Really. So Barack Obama, the president, the only president in the United States history who's been at war every single year, his entire 2 terms, the only president in U.S. history ever to be at war the entire 2 terms he was president. This president, his Secretary of State, or these Secretary of States, and this agency said that Michael Flynn was working against their policies and didn't listen. Yeah, no wonder he was fucking fired. Because he was going against all the fucking wars that you were in. It's incredible. They admit it all right here in Cosmopolitan. After getting fired, he started a consulting firm called Flynn Intel Group. In this article, they claim that Flynn Intel Group is lobbying for Turkey, while actually, in fact, if you go and look up the Flynn Intel Group, they've actually create a channel of conversation between Turkey and the U.S., and there's a lot of good that's come from his Flynn Intel Group, so I'm not even going to get into that. Let's see. Everybody has the right to have their own capitalist, groups that they start to, This guy doesn't have a job. He's started a job. He's got his own intel group, And Flynn's... all right, I'll just cover it. Flynn started getting classified national security briefings in summer of 2015 while he was still consulting international clients on intelligence matters. Flynn Intel Group also appears to be lobbying for the Turkish government. Appears to be lobbying. Yeah, no, they're actually connecting a channel of conversation, and has reportedly been paid thousands of dollars for it. Yeah, that's what capitalism's all about. You get paid for your services. So I don't know how they're demonizing making money to help intelligence back and forth between allies. Flynn is also an ally of Palantir, data analysis company co-founded by Peter Thiel, the Republican billionaire who took down Gawker and gave $1.25 million to the Trump campaign. So, whatever. I don't really see anything bad about that. Early in the race, this is what I was getting into before. A lot of people didn't really realize this. People often criticize Michael Flynn for being, a Trump sycophant or this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Actually, early in the race, Michael Flynn advised 5 Republican presidential candidates before siding with Trump. Flynn said that he had spoken with Carly Fiorina, Scott Walker, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump. Ultimately, he was most impressed with Donald Trump, someone who, like himself, he sees as an outsider who speaks bluntly. Quote, this is a guy that provides a different vision, a different way to solve problems, a different leadership style, and a sense of change that I believe that the majority of people in this country are really starting to look at. Well said. And so that's why Michael Flynn went with Donald Trump, but he was actually advising 5 Republican presidential candidates. And that is not, in my opinion, Michael Flynn, working his way, trying to get his web across all these people. I think that all these people wanted Michael Flynn's advice and advisory because of his background, his extensive, very well documented background. And so 5 different Republican presidential candidates asked for this guy's advisory skills. So that just once again goes to show that he's got a lot going on. A lot of people look for his expertise, a lot of well-known people. Here's number 6. He encouraged a lock her up chant while speaking at the Republican National Convention. Awesome. I love that. Military officials condemn Flynn's partnership. Former chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff told Washington Post in a statement that Flynn's behavior in the election broke cold. Basically the military is not happy that he's very outspoken against a lot of the military stances on things, so they are speaking out against him. And then look at this. So this is one of the most interesting parts here of this article. Number 8 says, quote, he has made numerous Islamophobic statements. His Islamophobic statement goes on to say here, in an interview with Al Jazeera in May, Flynn did not denounce Trump's Muslim ban, but he said that there must be more precision in the use of the language that he uses as the potential leader of the free world, end quote. Really? So, Michael Flynn is making Islamophobic statements by saying radical Islam is a cancer, which it is, and then says that the words that Donald Trump used in his Muslim ban could have been used more precise and could have been used better. So Michael Flynn is sitting here criticizing Donald Trump's Muslim ban, which was never a Muslim ban. I don't know if I need to go into that. But the amount of people that were actually stopped were not Muslims, and it was not all Muslims, so you can definitely look into that. The amount of Muslims that were held from coming in are so minimal. It was not a Muslim ban in any way. It was a ban of 7 countries, 3 of which do not produce actual passports in any way. So it makes sense to me that we don't want everybody coming in from that country that we don't even know who the fuck they are. They don't even have a passport. They don't have a social security card. They don't have anything. They don't have any identification to travel here. And 3 of those 7 countries were in that type of status. And so, it has nothing to do with being Muslim. But Michael Flynn here doesn't denounce the ban, but he says, quote, there must be more precision in the use of the language that he uses as the potential free leader or leader of the free world. So, again, I'm just very impressed, once again, with Michael Flynn stepping up and, having criticism of Donald Trump and having criticism of the law, but backing it in a legality stance and, taking, I think that's very well said. Donald Trump does need to, check and, make more precise use of his language. Let's look at this one. Number 9, Michael Flynn. He hates political correctness. Yes. Well, I love that. Who doesn't hate political correctness except for people with their head in the sand? This is Michael Flynn Falsehoods. The Flynn Falsehoods. The truth about Michael Flynn. Radio Bravery Live. Number 9 on Cosmopolitan.com. Quote, political correctness kills. It will cause death, and we can't have that, he said on Fox and Friends. Flynn has also said, my God, war is not about bathrooms. War is not about political correctness or words that are meaningless. War is about winning. Well said. Well said. That's exactly true. War is about winning because you want to end it. And people have criticized him for saying that, quote, war is about winning. You need to understand the statement that is made. What is war? It's when two sides battle to the death. So should he be saying war is about losing? No, absolutely not. He's saying war is about winning and getting it done. He doesn't want to be in continuous wars, and he doesn't want to be politically correct and worry about stupid, meaningless words. He wants to get the war over with and win it. And that's why he is effective. But yeah, hates political correctness. Great. Here's another one. Number 10. His position on torture is just shy of an endorsement. Well, it's not an endorsement, is it? So isn't that very fucking incredible that they want to say, oh, it's just shy of an endorsement, but he was one of the only people in the military today who is absolutely against torture. He is against torture, and one of the only people in military intelligence that is against torture, because he's proven, he knows that this interrogation practices usually produces false information. Flynn was once against waterboarding, but now has softened his stance since aligning with Trump, Trump is for waterboarding, but Michael Flynn is not. So that's why Michael Flynn was an important point person to have there to keep Trump in line about waterboarding and about torture. But now he's gone, and now we don't have that. Who has said he would allow waterboarding and that torture works. That's what Trump said. Flynn claims that as an intelligence officer in Iraq, he helped end abusive interrogation practices. We were going by the book. But instead of renouncing the use of torture or the committing of war crimes, Flynn said about Trump's statements, here's what a guy like Donald Trump is doing. He's basically saying, hey, look, all options are on the table, and being very unpredictable in the face of a very determined enemy. So, again, this is perfect. This is perfectly said. He doesn't denounce everything Trump, his boss, is saying and all of his boss's stances, but he says, hey, these are my stances. I don't agree with it, but I am trying to find a middle line because I understand where he's coming from. His intent is to try and stop terrorism, and he's going over, finding a medium from his boss. But again, he is against torture, and he is shy of an endorsement of torture. So, again, another good thing about Michael Flynn, I believe. Michael Flynn has said numerous times, abortion, I think for women, these are difficult issues. I think that's a difficult legal decision, and I think that women are so important in that decision-making process. They are the ones that have to make the decision because they're the ones that will decide to bring up that child or not. That's a quote from Michael Flynn. He considers himself a pro-life Democrat, but that is the stance he takes. So understand the basis of what he's saying. He is a pro-life Democrat, but he is not wanting to be in charge of changing the laws or making the laws. He says very specifically that women are so important in that decision-making process. They are the ones that have to make that decision because they are the ones that will decide to bring up that child or not. Abortion, I think for women, these are difficult issues. I think that it's a very difficult legal decision, and I think that women are so important in that decision-making process. So again, that is just really good. But a lot of people don't see that stance about Michael Flynn because they hear pro-life Democrat and they just want to go after him. So those are just some of the things on Cosmopolitan.com about Michael Flynn. A lot of them are pretty true. A lot of them are biased, like this number 13. Flynn and his son have been accused of being racist, sexist conspiracy theorists who love spreading fake news. Oh, they've been accused. But you can't give any proof, and you can't prove that they do this. They just say, oh yeah, they've just been accused of it. Everybody just wants to talk crap with no evidence. So that, I spent way too much time on that Cosmopolitan article, but this is the Flynn Falsehoods Radio Bravery Live Special Report, The Truth About Michael Flynn. We've got a few more articles to cover here as we go over the truth about Michael Flynn. This one's from pjmedia.com. Dems claim Trump team not wiretap while wiretapped. On January 20th, the New York Times published a story on wiretapping of Trump insiders. In the print version, the headline was, "Wiretapped data used in inquiry of Trump aides." Although you're going to have to squint to read the acknowledgement of the print headline on the bottom page, still, if you look through the actual article, you'll find this paragraph, quote, "The FBI is leading the investigations aided by the National Security Agency, the CIA, and the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit. The investigators have accelerated their efforts in recent weeks, but have found no conclusive evidence of wrongdoing." The officials said, one official said in intelligence reports based on some of the wiretapped communications had been provided to the White House. And then here's a March 4th Trump tweet. "Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism." This, of course, has been the subject of lots of Claude Rains since then, as reporters and politicians announced they're shocked at the accusation. Goes on to say, if anyone we know from the Clinton email scandal that the Espionage Act has an unwritten except for the Democrat politician's exception. So this morning, Charlie Savage tweeted criticism of the Wall Street Journal's editorial. Charlie Savage wrote, "Wiretap targeted Russian ambassador, not Flynn, ? There's a bunch of tweets in here that I don't need to go over. But now, after a lot of talk during the hearings on Monday and no one saw evidence that Trump had been wiretapped, Devin Nunes announced, quoting from his press release, "At our open table hearing on Monday, I encouraged everyone who has information about relevant topics, including surveillance on President-elect Trump or his transition team, to come forward and speak to the House Intelligence Committee. I also said that while there was not a physical wiretap of Trump Tower, I was concerned that other surveillance activities were used against President Trump and his associates. I recently confirmed that on numerous occasions the intelligence community incidentally collected information about U.S. citizens involved in the Trump transition. Details about U.S. persons associated with the incoming administration, details with little or no apparent foreign intelligence value, were widely disseminated in intelligence community reporting. I have confirmed," this is from Devin Nunes, "I have confirmed that additional names of Trump transition team members were unmasked." That's illegal. "To be clear, none of this surveillance was related to Russia or any investigation of Russian activities or of the Trump team. So these were incidental gatherings of information that numerous intelligence community agencies were gathering, collecting, and sharing with each other, all on Trump's transition team. Nothing to do with a Russian investigation. So that is the article from pjmedia.com, and we've got quite a few more articles to cover here on this special report of Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. Let's jump into this one from thedailycaller.com. As foreign agent for Turkey, Flynn agreed to form elite investigation team and make criminal referrals. So this is the article describing the Flynn Intel Group for you, so you can get a little bit more of a background on that. While serving as top advisor to Donald Trump's presidential campaign, Michael Flynn signed a contract in which he agreed to utilize an investigative laboratory made up of elite former intelligence officials, including a former CIA director, to conduct research and make criminal referrals on behalf of a Dutch shell company linked to the Turkish government, federal records show. But Flynn appears to have overpromised on that contract, which was signed on August 9th between his firm, Flynn Intel Group, and Innovo BV, the shell company. Republican James Woolsey, the former CIA director, identified by his title in the contract as a member of Flynn's Intel's investigative laboratory, says he was not aware and never agreed to perform any of the work laid out in the contract. The investigative work promised by Flynn Intel was most likely focused on Fethullah Gulen, a Muslim cleric exiled in the U.S., whose extradition is being sought by the Turkish government. Flynn Intel, which shut down in November after Flynn accepted Trump's offer to serve as National Security Advisor, filed the contract with the Justice Department on Tuesday as part of a retroactive resignation as a foreign agent of Turkey. So, once again, before even taking position, he canceled this entire Intel group. The contract called for Flynn Intel to receive $600,000 in payments over 3 months from Innovo, a sole proprietorship registered to Ekem Alptekin, the head of the Turkish U.S. Business Council, a business group that has come under increased control of the increasingly authoritarian Turkish government. Flynn, a retired lieutenant general, was fired just 24 days into his tenure last month because, according to White House, he misled Vice President Mike Pence about phone calls he had with the Russian ambassador. So, this article leads me into a couple articles right here. So this says he misled Vice President Mike Pence about phone calls he had with Russia's ambassador. So this is very interesting because it leads me into some inside reports from former CIA officer Robert David Steele in an interview with Alex Jones on Infowars.com, where he talks about how he has intel that Mike Pence's best friend, who was unnamed at this time, before I've done more research, who turns out to be supposedly, it's looking like Jeff Flake might be this person who is reportedly Mike Pence's best friend, and reports show that there's a great possibility that Mike Pence's best friend is connected to pedophilic activity and has been ousted by Michael Flynn and was about to be rolled up in some of Michael Flynn's operations that he'd been given the green light to do with Attorney General Jeff Sessions. So, you know I've been covering numerous roll-ups of pedophile rings worldwide, and especially here in the U.S., over 3,000 arrests since Donald Trump's taken office. And so you can see how this might all come together, that Michael Flynn knew about a connection to Vice President Mike Pence and pedophilia. And so you can see in this article from the Daily Caller how it says, according to the White House, Mike Flynn misled Vice President Mike Pence about phone calls he had with the Russian ambassador. So now, with you seeing everything how it connects together, you can see where this whole Russian ambassador thing may have just spurred out of nowhere once Mike Pence was made aware of this interview I will play for you right now. Let me just adjust my camera as I want you to see the actual video of this interview from Robert David Steele. Let's see here if I can get this going. Okay, so this is the Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn, and I'm going to play this little bit of this interview here with Robert David Steele. Flynn fired over high-level D.C. pedophile list.
Lay out the information.
Well, let's start with McMullen's the lightweight. This is a little man who's got no serious credibility in either the intelligence community or the real world. He's just running his mouth. I happen to be a complete independent, and I believe that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And you and Gary Null and a whole bunch of important people are starting to talk about how Donald Trump might be our one chance to take down the deep state. I absolutely believe that. Now, I've published some posts. Part of Trump's problem is that he wasn't expecting to win, and when he won by accident, I've written, it's both free online and it's also a bestseller at Kindle.
I'm just going to try to jump to the part he talks about Michael Flynn.
They were able to stop that, and she wasn't able to steal 13 general elections from Donald Trump. But coming back to Donald Trump, his problem was that he had to get from election day to inauguration day. And he had to get through the Electoral College, the congressional validation, and inauguration day. And as you all saw, John Brennan committed treason.
Let's see if I can jump to this part where he talks
Alex,
about Michael
you've covered
Flynn.
this and you know what I'm talking about, but I don't think people are really understanding. And unfortunately, Trump doesn't have advisors who are people in an office with Donald Trump. You announce the Electoral Reform Act, and you have those 5 people and Donald Trump barnstorm the country. 50 states in 30 days. I guarantee you, we will own this country for...
All right, let's see if I can get to this part.
I say,
Sorry
sure,
about the wait.
please go after China openly giving money to Hillary, Saudi Arabia, and the... Then
Let's see if I can get to this. Sorry about the wait, you guys. This is
Flynn
Flynn Falsehoods.
Well,
the truth about Michael
has
Flynn.
just demonstrated that he's clickbait. He's right up there with Madonna. I think very, very poorly of him. He is being an irresponsible. The existential enemies of America are right here at home. They're at home. What Donald Trump needs to do.
author. You can find his website.
All right, I apologize. I will get to this actual...
He's got a memorandum for the president that we're going to post infowars.com. It's pretty powerful information.
See if we can get to this right here.
Michael Moore's... When what matters is he's everything.
Yes, absolutely right. Alex, you are absolutely on target. Donald Trump needs to sit down and game out the next 90 days, and he has to do it in a way that allows him to shut down the two-party tyranny. Paul Ryan is not his friend.
Oh, Paul Ryan is his sworn enemy. He's... In fact, here's the thing. The Democrat leadership thinks that Russia invaded Korea and doesn't know what day it is and thinks Bush is in office, but they're all goofy and just... It is like... What's scary is the Republican leadership is got their act together, but they're really the threat to Trump, I think.
I agree with you completely, Alex. And one of the reasons I want to throw the press out of the White House and create a Trump channel in that space is because Fox News is part of the crap.
They're attacking him backhanded every 10 seconds.
They are sleazeballs. And frankly, I'm tired of 3 bimbos in the morning and 5 jerks at night. Fox News is a disgrace to the journalist profession. Trump needs to sit down and think strategically, and he doesn't have anyone that can do that for him. I love Ben.
All right, I apologize about that video. I'm not sure that I can actually, I don't have the time to find the actual clip, but let's just go. I pulled up right now from stateofthenation2012.com. I've actually got the quotes from the video. You can go and find the video yourself. I apologize for the wait playing that stupid video, but somewhere in this 20-minute video, he talks about this. The video is former CIA officer Flynn fired over high-level DC pedophile list. This is former CIA officer Robert David Steele going over this, and here's some of the quotes. Here's the key points. Former CIA officer Robert David Steele explains how Flynn was really fired because he was in possession of high-level Washington, D.C. pedophile list with many names. One of those names was Vice President Mike Pence's best friend. Steele also says that there are restaurants in Washington, D.C. and Saudi Arabia where you can literally order children off the menu. It is not Ping Pong Pizza Place, the Comet Ping Pong. But he says Flynn was actually fired over a high-level DC pedophile list that he had come in contact with. He explains how Flynn was really fired because of the possession of the list. One of those names was Vice President Mike Pence's best friend. Yes, Reince Priebus is definitely connected in this as well, but main point being this is just an insider report on supposedly Mike Pence's best friend might be connected to pedophilic activity, and Michael Flynn may have uncovered that. We know that Mike Pence and Mike Flynn were not getting along when Flynn was asked to resign. So definitely very interesting. I'll be doing more research on Jeff Flake. I just came across that name today as I was finishing up this report. But very interesting indeed. So then let's look at this one right here from Jerome Corsi at Infowars.com. Flashback. Russia interfered to help Dems in 1968 and 1984. Ted Kennedy asked the Russians to intervene for them. For anyone familiar with the McCarthy area, it is mind-boggling to hear the Democrats who have supported Russia since the 1917 revolution engaging in red baiting against President Trump. In 1968, the Kremlin decided that the Republican presidential candidate that year, Richard Nixon, was profoundly anti-Soviet and must be prevented from becoming the president. Then Russian ambassador in United States for the United States, Anatoly Dobrin, as retold in his 1995 memoir, In Confidence, was ordered by Moscow to offer Nixon's Democratic Party rival Hubert H. Humphrey Jr. any inconceivable help in his election, including financial aid. According to an article published in the New York Times in January 2017, the KGB in the then Soviet Union fabricated a bogus FBI report that Senator Henry M. Jackson, a strong critic of the Soviet Union who tried unsuccessfully in the 1970s to secure the Democratic presidential nomination, was a homosexual and attended gay sex clubs with Richard N. Pearl, another anti-communist hawk who was loathed by Moscow. In 1984, then Senator Ted Kennedy, then a Democratic Party presidential contender, asked Russia to intervene in the presidential election to help defeat Ronald Reagan. On August 28, 2009, Forbes published an article written by Peter Robinson, a research fellow at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University and a former White House speechwriter, exposing how Senator Ted Kennedy in 1984 had reached out to Moscow asking the Soviet Union's help to defeat Ronald Reagan. So we have two historical examples of the Democrats in the U.S. reaching out to Soviet Russia to get them to help sway our U.S. election, but they want to accuse Donald Trump of doing the exact same thing they've been doing. Yeah, just so interesting, so interesting. So let's go into a few more pieces of news here. This one from yahoonews.com. Trump calls Comey showboat. Acting FBI chief contradicts president. And this is about the FBI chief supposedly calling Donald Trump names, and Trump calling him a showboater. Here's one from the Gateway Pundit. Acting FBI director refutes reports that Comey asked for more funding for Russia investigation. So it came out yesterday that after Director Comey was fired, all these articles are out claiming that the reason he was fired was because he was expanding the Russia investigation. Well, on Wednesday, the Washington Compost reported that former FBI Director James Comey sought more resources for his Russia probe just days before he was fired by the president. And that's why they are the Washington Compost. The story's been widely reported ever since the Washington Compost said, quote, last week, then FBI Director James Comey requested more resources from the Justice Department for his bureau's investigation into collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government, according to two officials with knowledge of the discussion. Well, the Department of Justice refuted that report Wednesday, saying Comey did not ask Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein for more resources for the Russian conspiracy probe. On Thursday, acting FBI Director McCabe was asked if Comey had requested additional funding for the Russia investigation, and McCabe responded, I strongly believe the Russia investigation is adequately resourced. So once again, the Washington Compost caught lying, caught trying to spread this Russia narrative more and more. Let's see. We've got a few more articles to cover here in this Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. This is a Radio Bravery Live special report. We are on youtube.com/Radio Bravery Live right now. Let's look at this one. Yahoo News, I already covered that one. Here's foxnews.com. Comey firing could spur new review of Clinton case. Immunity deals and ex-agent says. So this is wonderful that finally that guy who has been stopping and blocking the obstructionist, James Comey, is now out of office. So now we can see Fox News saying Comey firing could spur new review of Clinton case, and that's a very, very good thing to hear. And lastly, on the truth about Flynn Falsehoods, Trump interview with Lester Holt, President asked Comey if he was under investigation. Revealed he asked Comey if he was under investigation for alleged ties to Russia. Quote, I actually asked him if I were under investigation, Trump said, noting that he spoke with Comey once over dinner and twice by phone. I said, if it's possible, would you let me know? Am I under investigation? He said, you are not under investigation. Quote by Comey. That's what he told Trump. You are not under investigation. I know I'm not under investigation, Trump told Lester Holt in the 31-minute interview. So once again, more information coming out that James Comey told Trump he was not under investigation. So I think I've pretty much covered the Flynn Falsehoods in depth as deep as I can. I'm sure there's going to be more information to continue to come out about the truth about Michael Flynn. and how much of a patriot he truly is. After all this information, I just really like, the Flynn conversation to die. I'm sure it won't, but at least that I've covered it as in depth as I possibly could here on Radio Bravery Live. And now I'm going to lead you out with a compilation, an audio compilation of Democratic flip-floppers previously calling for Comey's resignation. Because everyone wants to say in the mainstream news right now that Donald Trump fired Comey because he was under Russia investigation and because Comey wanted to expand the investigation. And you got people like Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, all these flip-floppers in the news saying that, he did this just because Comey was investigating him, while Comey said to Trump he wasn't investigating him. And while all these flip-floppers here are recorded saying that they wanted Comey's resignation before, but once Trump had him fired, then, no. Now they're against it. Now they're totally against it. Democratic flip-floppers at large. This is Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. I'm Justin Bellshaw, your host.
In an interview with 60 Minutes, Trump left Comey's future hanging in the balance.
FBI Director James Comey, are you going to ask for his resignation?
I think that I would rather not comment on that yet. I haven't made up my mind.
Huge story that broke just minutes ago, like less than 10 minutes ago. FBI Director James Comey has just been fired by Donald Trump.
Thanks,
Wow. Huge Donald Trump fans here tonight.
Do you believe that Jim Comey should resign, Senator Reid?
Of course, yes.
It's classified and we can't tell you anything. All I can tell you is the FBI Director has no credibility.
Oh, no credibility. Maxine Waters, really.
But first of all, let's start again. He was acting in concert and coordination with the House Republicans. End of story.
I'm just saying Director Comey testified this week, and he made it very plain that he broke the FBI rules with respect to the Clinton campaign, and he chose not to break the rules with respect to the Trump campaign, and that was a factor. There are many factors, but I think it will go down as probably the lowest moment in history of the FBI, probably next to the decision of J. Edgar Hoover to wiretap Martin Luther King.
So now we have Comey putting his finger on the scale. And up until then, people thought great things about him. But this is unprecedented.
I think that Comey acted in an outrageous way during the campaign.
Should he step down?
I think he should take a hard look at what he has done, and I think it would not be a bad thing for the American people if he did step down.
My confidence in the FBI Director's ability to lead this agency has been shaken.
And then at least one Democratic lawmaker is calling on Comey to resign.
And Director Comey is supposed to be an investigator who reports to the Justice Department and not somebody who comes out and makes news himself. He's gone too far.
But for the first time, President Obama taking a swipe at his FBI Director, James Comey.
There is a norm that, when there are investigations, we don't operate on innuendo, we don't operate on incomplete information, we don't operate on leaks. We operate based on concrete decisions that are made.
It was, when I heard about it, I found it hard to believe that Comey, who I thought had some degree of integrity, would do this. Earlier this afternoon, President Trump called me and informed me he was firing Director Comey. I told the President, Mr. President, with all due respect, you are making a big mistake.
Wrong. Let's just watch that last part earlier time. So this is Chuck Schumer previously criticizing Comey and then saying, Trump, you made a big mistake. Let's look at this. Flynn Falsehoods, a special report by Radio Bravery Live, the truth about Michael Flynn.
I found it hard to believe that Comey, who I thought had some degree of integrity, would do this. Earlier this afternoon, President Trump called me and informed me he was firing Director Comey. I told the President, Mr. President, With all due respect, you are making a big mistake.
Wrong, buddy. And this is Flynn Falsehoods, the truth about Michael Flynn. This is Radio Bravery Live. I'm pretty sure we've covered it all. Thank you so much for joining me live. YouTube.com/RadioBravery, Facebook.com/RadioBravery, RadioBravery.wixsite.com/news, and you can find me at Radio Bravery on Instagram, Twitter, WordPress, and probably anywhere else. Thank you so much for joining me live. If you think I'm crazy, then you are the crazy one, because this is the truth about Michael Flynn.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough.
I just knew too much.
I just knew too much.
We just know too much, folks. Radio Bravery Live. Does it make you crazy because you know too much? Knowledge is power. Empower yourself.
Does that make me crazy?
We live in the daycare demographic. They want your soul, and I want you to think for yourself. I don't think you're crazy. I think you just knew too much. Thank you so much. It's Radio Bravery Live.